So the next challenge is called Fawn. So we just click on this to open it up, to open up this the challenge dialog box over here. And the first thing we need to do, just like the last machine, is we need to spawn the machine by clicking on this button right here. So click on the spawn machine button, and it might take a couple of minutes to initialize. This is the IP address for the machine over here. So we just need to click on this to copy the IP address and then go over to our terminal. So I'm going to clear the terminal. It looks like I'm going to have to spawn a new terminal. Hold on. So I'm going to close this out, and then I'm going to spawn a new terminal. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to ping the machine. So it's going to be ping and then C4 and then the IP address. So we're going to paste in the IP address that we copied. And bear in mind that the IP address for your virtual machine is probably not going to be the same as mine. So you definitely want to get your own virtual machine IP address instead of this one over here. But you're going to run the command, and it's going to send four ping packets, and then it's going to say 4 packets transmitted, 4 received. Okay, so that's great. That means that the machine is up and we're able to access it. So from here, we're going to use our nmap program. So nmap V for very verbose. We're going to put 3 threads on it, and then we're going to scan all the ports on our target IP address. So once again, it's nmap and then -VV for very verbose, and then number of threads, the merrier, to make it a little bit faster. And then we're going to specify which ports we want to scan by doing -P-, which means every port on the system. There are about 65,000 of them. But after that, we're going to run the command and we're going to see what is available on the system. So we run the command, and the first thing it does is that it tells us that it discovered an open port on port 21 TCP. All right, so 21 TCP. So we're going to create another terminal so that we can start investigating this particular port. Normally, I would say to let the nmap scan finish, but in this case, there are no other ports that are open on the system. There's just this port. So I'm going to exit out of this nmap command with Control-C, and then I'm going to clear the terminal, and I'm going to run my next command. So the next command, after you determine that which ports are open, you need to run another nmap command to enumerate the ports. So by enumeration, we mean we're trying to gather as much information as we can about the open ports. So it's going to be an nmap again with the same number of threads, except we're going to be scanning port 21. And we're also going to try to determine if any of our default scripts will work on that. And we're also trying to determine whether or not we can get the version information from the scan, and then we're going to plug in our IP address, just like this. Okay, so we're scanning port 21, and we're trying to determine what version it is and whether or not any of our default scripts tell us anything about the service. So let's run this. Okay, so from the scan, results are thus. So port 21 TCP open. It says that the service is FTP, and the version of the FTP server is VS FTP D 3.0.3. So So sometimes the version of the software is very important because there are particular exploits that only work on certain versions of software, usually outdated versions of software. And when we run our scripts on the FTP server, we get some interesting stuff here. We see that this script over here, FTP anon, that stands for anonymous FTP logins. It says anonymous FTP logins allowed, FTP code 230, which means that we're able to log into the FTP service as an anonymous user and interact with the system. And we also see that there is a file inside of the FTP directory over here called flag.txt, and that's probably our objective over here. Okay, that's great. So with all that being said, we can use the FTP program to interact with the FTP server that we just found. So the command is going to be FTP and then the IP address of the server. So we run the command and then it says name. So it's asking for a username. We're going to give it the name anonymous. So this is how you log into an FTP server if it has anonymous login enabled. So you supply the username anonymous, and then as the password, you just want to leave it blank. So it's either going to be blank or the password is also going to be anonymous. So in this case, we're going to try the blank password. And then it says login successful, remote system type is Unix, using binary mode to transfer files. Okay, so we're now inside of a FTP terminal. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find out what's inside the directory, and we can do so by using the ls command. So the ls command says, here comes the directory listing, and it says that there is this flag inside the directory here. It is called flag.txt. What we want to do is download this. And we can do that by using the get command. So this is a FTP specific command right here to download files. So it's just get and then the name of the file. So get flag.txt, run that, and that's going to download the file to our machine. Okay, so after that, this is all we needed to do in FTP. So we can just exit out here. So just give it the exit command, and we're going to be logged out. So if we take a look at our directory here, we see that the flag.txt file has been downloaded to our machine. So we can just use the regular old cat command to read it. And this is the result. So this is what we were looking for. This is the flag. So we're going to come back to this, but first let's answer the questions associated with this challenge. So we can go back to our webpage. So task 1, the question is, what does the 3-letter acronym FTP stand for? So FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. So that is the answer, File Transfer Protocol. Submit that as the answer. And then question 2. Which port does the FTP service listen on usually? So FTP usually listens on port 21, just like what we found from the Nmap scan. Submit that as the answer. The next question is, what acronym is used as the secure version of FTP? So there is a more secure version of FTP, and the acronym for the secure version of FTP is SFTP. So that is the answer, SFTP. Okay, so we're going to submit the answer again, and that was correct. All right, the next question is, what is the command we can use to send an ICMP echo request to test our connection to the target? So the first thing we did in this exercise is we used a ping command to try to reach out to the target to see if it was responsive to us. So the answer is ping. Okay, so the next question is, from your scans, what version of FTP is running on the target? Okay, so what version of FTP is running on the target? So we can get the answer for this from our Nmap scan. So we go back to our Nmap scan results over here. So it says port 21 open FTP, and the version is VSFTPD 3.0.3. So we can copy this and present this as the answer for the question. So Control-Shift-C to copy, and then back to the web page. Paste this in and click on Submit Answer, and that is the answer. Also, from the scans, what OS type is running on the target? Okay, so this is also something we can get from our Nmap scan. So at the end of the Nmap scan over here, we see this line right here, Service Info OS Unix. So this is a Unix OS system, which is very similar to Linux, but it's slightly different. So let's go over back to the web page and submit Unix as the answer. All right, question 7. What is the command we need to run in order to display the FTP client help menu? All right, so if we want to, generally, if we want to display a help menu for any command, we generally want to use the -H flag. So in this case, because we're using FTP, it's going to be FTP-H, and that is the answer. Okay, question number 8. What is the username that is used over FTP when you want to log in without having an account? So this is the username we use to log into FTP because the FTP server was set to allow anonymous login, and the answer is anonymous. Anonymous. And the next question is, what is the response code we get from for the FTP message, login successful? All right, to get this answer, we can go back to our terminal. So we use FTP, and then we used anonymous as the username, and afterwards we got a code 230. Login successful. So the answer is 230. Question number 10. There are a couple of commands we can use to list the files and directories available on the FTP server. One is dir. What is the other that is a common way to list files on a Linux system? Okay, so in FTP, you can use 2 different commands to get the the directory contents. One is dir, and the other one is the one that we used, which is ls. All right. So the last question before we submit our flag is, what is the command used to download the file we found on the FTP server? In this case, we used the FTP get command to download the file. So the answer is get. Okay, and the last thing we need to do is we need to submit the root flag. Let's go back to the terminal. And this is the value of the flag. So let's copy this with Control-Shift-C, and then go back to the page, paste in the flag, and submit it. Okay, and with that, we've finished this machine. So we're going to click OK. So to summarize this machine right here, we used Nmap to scan the machine, and the Nmap scan revealed that the FTP service was open on the server. So we scanned the machine and we found that it was that FTP was configured with anonymous login enabled. So we were able to log in using anonymous login, and we were able to obtain the flag file for this exercise through the anonymous user account. All right, so that's the end of this challenge. Hey there, Hacker Frogs! Are you enjoying this workshop? Learning new concepts and skills? If so, there's a way you can support the channel, and it's totally free. Just click on the subscribe button below the video. Also, click on the like button. And if you have questions or comments on this workshop, please leave them below the video. Thanks for listening. And now, back to our scheduled programming.